Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Success Insight podcast. Our guest today is Andrée Martin, our leadership, mindset, and golf performance coach. And by now, you know when Andrée is back on the Success Insight podcast, it must be Mindset Monday. And just a little refresher for you, Andrée is our leadership, mindset, and golf performance coach. He's an LPGA Class A life member and nationally recognized top 50 golf teacher and expert, and a member of the Maine Golf Hall of Fame, recognizing golf's value as a business tool in today's competitive marketplace. Andrée works with individuals, groups, corporate, or organizational clients to create educational and team-building programs that enhance the professional success of aspiring executives. Andrée, welcome back to the Success Insight podcast.
Thank you, Howard. Always good to be back with you. And I'm excited about yet another Mindset Monday with you.
Fantastic. So what's our topic today?
Today's topic is imagination is more powerful than knowledge.
All right. Imagination. When I think of imagination, I'm thinking of Willy Wonka singing with Gene Wilder, but
I always go to Walt Disney.
Walt Disney?
Because Walt had an idea that was just so out there, and he made it a reality. And it was full of creativity. I mean, if you think about it, nobody would know Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse if Walt Disney hadn't created it. He created that first and then found the proper people and knowledge to turn it into reality. The owner of FedEx had actually proposed this business in a college term paper, and his professor laughed at him.
I remember that.
And he did not let it stop him. He went ahead because his imagination was more powerful than the supposed knowledge of the professor. And he pulled a team together and made what is today an extremely successful business that is really thriving in these times.
I can imagine so many entrepreneurs out there who have very successful ventures. And, I remember, back in the 2000s, was it 2000s? Maybe 1990s, when Jeff Bezos was barely making anything for Amazon, and on those books, and, everybody's saying, how are you going to make any money? You're not making any money. And I'm curious, even thinking about him or Elon Musk, what was the imagination that they had in their head, and what were they going through to say, there's something better out here, there's a better way to do things?
It took the big idea and the belief in that big idea, the creation of that big idea, to pull a huge project and opportunity together. With that, they then dug into their knowledge to pull it all together. But without imagination, you can't create anything. I mean, I think of Einstein, right? When he created the light bulb. Well, I thought of how many hundreds?
First of all, you mean Edison.
Did I say Edison? Gosh, I always say that.
Einstein was our EMC, E equals MC2 kind of guy.
Yeah, well, and even with those mathematical equations, the fact that he could even think like that, yes, there was a certain amount of knowledge, but the fact that he could see and create and multiply, yes. But now let's go back to the light bulb, right? I remember he always said, if it was 500 tries, well, I just thought of 499 ways that it didn't work, but the 500 one might have worked, or it did work. And so it takes the imagination, grit, determination, courage, persistence, all that, and that tied in with creativity opens up all kinds of possibility. I mean, think of how many people have thought of how to use masks. I saw on TV just the other day, a gentleman thought of a way to draw a straw through a mask without having to take off your mask. And that's going to be multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah.
And I figured somebody would. And you always think, oh, gosh, that should have been me, but it wasn't. But it took an imagination to create that in a way that it was financially doable and creatively in a way that it's not going to create a bunch of bacteria and mess it up. It's very, very accurate and works well.
It's interesting. There's so many inventions, products, services that are out there today where someone, this entrepreneur, this creative type, this team perhaps got together and said, maybe they experienced an event and they said, this should not work this way. And then they realized there's got to be a better way. And then they start, back of the napkin.
Yep. Even in the golf business, it's constantly evolving. We started with woodwoods back in the 70s. Today, it's metal heads that have evolved into multi-compound metal heads. Crash test technology has been purchased by the manufacturers because there's so much engineering that goes into it. So yes, it takes a lot of knowledge, but it sure takes a lot of imagination to think that, okay, I can combine titanium, I can combine steel, I can combine aluminum, I can combine all the graphite, all these different components and come up with a performance club that excels beyond any wildest dream. Then you've even got wedges. We used to have one sand wedge. Now there's 4 to 5 wedges in all your top level players' bags.
4 to 5?
4 to 5. We've gone from a pitching wedge and a sand wedge, created a gap wedge, which fills in between the pitching wedge and the sand wedge, and a lob wedge, which is higher loft than a sand wedge when you've got these nice tight, a flag stick really close to the edge of the bunker. You want to just pop it up, or you're in the high rough, no flag or green to work with. You just float it right up and out of there. Well, the ingeniousness of it actually created an opportunity for golf manufacturers to sell you more clubs and further define, okay, now what 14 clubs am I going to keep in my bag? It's an engineering marvel.
I was just going to ask you only have 14 clubs. So this begs a question for me. Let's say in the last 5 years, what has been this imagination, this product that has been produced that has changed the world of golf in the last 5 years? Is it technology? Is it a piece of equipment? What in your mind, what has that been?
It's a combination, because TrackMan has also made it easier for teachers to really dive down in deep and find out, okay, you've got spin rates, you've got launch angles, you've got shaft flexes, you've got club head speed. We've found ways to create more club head speed for people, get more accurate than ever, and actually get them better launch conditions to get more distance. Yes, it also takes talent as well. But to answer your question, it is a combination of the improvements in graphite shafts. They've come so far. Oh my gosh, I remember when they first came out. And they've gotten so much more precise. It used to be you'd take a box and you might have one decent one in the whole lot. Now you've got a whole lot of shafts, and most of them are actually decent. And to us within tenths or millimeters and then some of accuracy, and from one to another. That also has helped with club fitting. Club fitting is another thing that's come about that has fine-tuned the game for everybody and given golf professionals an opportunity to get the right equipment in the right hands for everybody. It's actually, knowing you're a lefty, Howard, it's allowing us to give lefties a better opportunity at better equipment, because we can change out shafts and not have to worry about not having the right shaft for a lefty. You don't just have one steel and one graphite. You've got multiple different opportunities. And then you take that, and this translates to business too, but I'd like to take it a step further. and you go to the imagination of the tour player on the golf course, and they get in these ridiculous positions in the woods, in the rough, in the fescue, and they can pull it off. And yes, they have the knowledge of the fact that they've repeated their shot over and over and over again. So they're at a point of perfection with their game that is unlike most amateurs or for sure high-level handicap players. But they've got the ability. I remember growing up, we didn't have much of a driving range. You actually were hitting into the first fairway. And so when somebody would play the first fairway, we'd turn around and we'd hit into the bunker and pretend that was a green, or hit it up and over shrubs. And we'd say, you'd have to hit this 20 yards, or you'd have to hit this 5 feet above the bush, and you'd have to land it within 10 feet or less of the bush on the other side. And that was not knowledge. We got good at feel and carving shots and popping it up and over. And it's almost like a lost art because of the inventions of all these wedges. Kids today don't know how to carve the shots as well, but they're also that much more accurate. So there's a lot of possibility out there, if you will. Phil Mickelson is a master of carving and creating something out of nothing. I mean, for years, he loves getting in those trees and popping it out and around. It's just crazy, the shots that he's been able to make. It takes total creativity and imagination. And that's why when I get a student off the range having a hard time transferring it to the golf course, they've got all this knowledge. They've been working on their swing. Okay, now it's time to shift. We talked about pivot in the last session. Well, it's another form of pivot, but it's within a game within the game, because you're now shifting into taking that knowledge, and you've got to be creative in that imagination and trusting your target. Eye on the target, eye on the bullseye, and swinging to that bullseye. Very, very powerful. And it's just so fun.
How do these young golfers, how do they react to moving beyond just the swing and the speed, but learning to kind of tap into their imagination and creativity?
They get very target engaged. I find most amateur golfers out there listening get so ball bound and worried about hitting the ball, they lose sight of the target. It's almost like your project manager, you're so involved with the project, you forget about the big picture of what the company's goals and dreams are. You always have to keep that in mind and redirect and adjust, and just keep going for it. I know in past episodes, we talked about, relaxing into it and finding your tempo and your rhythm to get there. But when you step out on that golf course, it's all tempo target. And you save the mechanics for the driving range. And that is all imagination. It takes imagination and letting go. It's a letting go, getting into the flow. It's like a softer versus harder, even though you're actually accelerating through the ball to the target.
Very good. Very good. So, Andrée, if our listeners would like to learn more about you and your work, where are the best places for them to go?
Certainly. They can go to my website, which is andreegolf.com. That's Andrée with 2 E's. I am also available through the YouTube, Andrée Martin Golf, and LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Fantastic. Well, we will definitely provide the backlinks to all of the social sites and your website. So, Andrée, once again, thank you so much for joining us on Success Insight in this episode of Mindset Monday. Imagination is more powerful than knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Howard. It was a pleasure.
All right, folks, there you have it. We have just been chatting with our leadership mindset and golf performance coach, Andrée Martin. And today's episode was, again, imagination is more powerful than knowledge. We certainly hope that you enjoyed today's chat and Andrée's many wonderful insights and anecdotes about the world of golf. Everything from, what's in the head of the professionals like the Phil Mickelsons, the Tiger Woods, all these other fine up-and-coming professionals, as well as the guy like me who's just trying to get out on the course and, move beyond swinging the club, but learning how to focus on the target. So lots of great insights from Andrée. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let us know on our website, successinsightpodcast.com. We're also on Facebook and LinkedIn at Success Insight Podcast, as well as on our YouTube channel. And you can also listen to this episode on the various podcast platforms, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, as well as Amazon Music. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. We are still in the midst of COVID, so wear your mask, practice social distancing, take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and listen, take care of yourself and your presence in the community as well, because we're all in this together. Okay, folks, go out there, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Success Insight Podcast. Take care now.
Success Insight is a production of Fox Coaching and First Story Strategies. Find us online, successinsightpodcast.com.